hear my voice, see my face, talk to me and tell me what your concerns are, and I could bring them back. So a little about me. I was born and raised in Mississippi. I've been in Connecticut for 25 years. I've been in politics for a long time locally, volunteered, and on a state level. I was an elected official in Prospect on planning and zoning. And as you know, this is my first term in Hartford, so I am delighted and honored to be up there. So the committees that I am on are Commerce, which I'm really excited about because I think that we need to encourage businesses to stay in Connecticut. We need to invite businesses to come to Connecticut, which in turn create jobs and people can stay and live in this state. I actually we had a Commerce meeting today, and they use so many acronyms up there, I can't even tell you what they are. But the woman that is in charge of I think it's DECD, which I know what it is, but I don't know what the acronym stands for. She did a presentation, and I really hope that she is serious about everything that she said and how they are encouraging business to stay and helping businesses. I'm also on Public Safety Committee, and that we really haven't done anything yet. We've had one meeting, and we'll see what takes place after that. And the other committee I serve on is Human Services. Again, we've really had nothing because it's so new again in the game. Haven't had anything to date as of that, but going forward, I'm sure that we will be getting onto that as well. So that's really Themis, or Representative Klarides will be here shortly, and I'm sure most of you probably know her. She is from Orange, Woodbridge, and has that area. So I thought it would be great for her to come, and if there's some questions that I'm not really familiar with that maybe she could answer for you. So are there any questions out there? Any thoughts? Oh, somebody has to have a question.
Yeah, you mentioned you're on the public safety.
Mm-hmm.
Does that get involved at all with all of the hullabaloo about school safety and guns?
School safety, I'm not so sure about. I know with the gun issue, there are going to be some things before us that will come. What I learned today actually is, well, before that, I'll just back up a little bit. The governor, I don't know if y'all are familiar, there are two task forces that have been formed around this horrific incident in Newtown. And one task force is made up of the legislators. And it is an even amount of Republican and Democrats. It's very bipartisan. And from that committee, they have created 3 subcommittees. One has to do with gun issues, one has to do with school safety, and one has to do with human services, the mental health. So what I have been told is that these subcommittees have public hearings, which there was one yesterday on guns. Mental health was a couple of days ago, and school safety was last week. So they have all met. They will propose solutions to this task force. Now, in the meantime, there's another task force that's been put together by the governor, and that is made up of experts and people that are appointed to that. What I hope for that committee, that task force, is there are people from all points of view on that. I believe that you need to bring all the people together to come up with a solution. I don't know the people that are on that committee. My other question that I'm asking is, how are we going to take the recommendations from both of those task force and merge them together? I don't have an answer to that. So what happens then, to answer your question, is whatever the solution is, however these task force are coming up with it, will go right to the floor because they're calling them an emergency bill. So those will not come in front of our committee at all. Those will go right to the floor.
I was aware of these meetings because of the emails that I got, but the thing that bothered me is that all of these meetings are in Hartford. So if somebody such as myself, if we had an opinion, or we would have to go to Hartford. I think that there's an impediment.
I tend to agree with you. What I would suggest is, do you live in Bethany?
No, I live in Orange.
In Orange, okay. You can have my email, please. If you can email or write a letter to myself, to Themis, and then we will pass that along. This is my third town hall meeting that we've had so far, and in the other towns, they were the same issues, and people were even saying, how is my voice going to be heard? So I suggest call, write, email your legislators, email the governor's office, and let's get your voice up there. I can tell you I do pass along everything that I get, so please do that. Yes, ma'am.
What is the deadline for submitting a public bill? A bill from the public?
I will have to get back to you on that.
Okay.
I'm
I
not-
think it's sometime in February, but I don't know the exact date.
Okay.
I have a bill that I want to submit, and I'm very concerned about, and I'm not sure the legislature would like it.
Oh, hi, Representative Klarides. Maybe she could answer
What was
that
the question?
that deadline.
I'm gonna, sorry.
Thank you.
The deadline was 2 weeks ago for submitting an individual bill, but the committee bills have different deadlines depending on the committees. I mean, basically, if a committee chairman wants to.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
The deadline for submitting individual bills was a few weeks ago.
It was 2 weeks ago.
Yes, it's the first week of January, give or take. But each committee can submit their own committee bills instead of individual members. And they can still do that for a period of time, because at this point, we're just kind of putting bills in as concepts, instead of a specific bill, we're putting a lot of subject matter things in, like just general subject matter.
Were you aware that the state requires all the towns to charge 18% interest on overdue taxes?
I really wasn't aware of that on property taxes.
I
Or-
think that is creating a great hardship on people who are right on the cusp and are about to lose their homes through no fault of their own. I have a friend in Woodbridge who was, I guess, becoming slowly Alzheimer's, and nobody recognized it. She hasn't paid her taxes for the last 5 years, which of course would be an 18% accrued interest per year, compounded, and the town is foreclosing on her house. Now the family is scurrying to get lawyers to try to straighten everything out. But however, I think that when you think about all the people in this state who have had to postpone paying taxes in order to buy food, that the state legislature should do something about lowering the interest rate that they want they want the towns to collect.
Well, I believe in some towns, and probably most towns, when people are, you're talking about property taxes, correct?
No, but yes,
Houses
but
and
it's a
cars.
state law. It's not.
Right.
It's not a.
I think they
it's
probably
not
negotiate
up to
at the end of the
It's
day.
not negotiable.
I think they may negotiate even if it's not negotiable. I think it may
Well, I
be,
know
but I'm
they
not,
negotiate.
I'm not sure, so I don't wanna say
Yeah,
that
I'll
there's.
tell you this, which makes me very angry, because this is something that major corporations do all the time. They don't pay the taxes, and then they negotiate because they know that the taxes come into $20, $30, $50, $100,000, and they get tax breaks. But individual homeowners don't. I think that's very unfair.
No, I mean, we do similar things in the state with individuals in tax credits and earned income tax credits and things like that. So, I mean, they're similar but not the same. But obviously, I mean, the problem is the people in the middle get stuck. If you're very low income, you can avail yourselves of those, and if you're, upper income, you can avail yourselves of those. But usually, the middle of the road can't avail themselves of taxes.
Maybe it's
and
time to
things
start considering the middle of the road.
like- It's time to start considering being responsible with our money as a state, is what it's time to start considering. And trust me, we have been fighting and screaming and yelling for many years. I mean, Lezlye is new to that fight, but she's been, fighting her own fight locally, but we have all been doing that. And I mean, I hate to say it, I'm not one of those people that really gets political per se, but, I mean, the writing's on the wall. I mean, you can look at how people voted. I mean, I tell people all the time, go on your computer and go take 5 minutes a week and look to see where your legislators and legislators around you have voted, and you will see. I mean, it's pretty clear who supports what and who supports other things.
And that leads to my question.
Okay.
2012, the state implemented the biggest tax hike in history,
Yes, they did.
right? And we also have more than $365 million in debt, including, with this tax hike. We are now more than $1 billion in debt. What are your plans to reduce spending?
Well, first of all, I mean, in addition to the highest tax increase in the state of Connecticut's history, we have the biggest budget in the state of Connecticut's history, the highest unemployment in the state of Connecticut's history, and so on and so on. And so every year for the past 6 years, we in the House and Senate Republican caucus have put in our own budgets that included no tax increases. Okay, and there were cuts in them. I mean, there were. But, you have one choice or the other, or a combination of the two. You either have to cut back on things and be more responsible, or you have to just keep taxing people. And the governor had said, I'm sure you heard him say hundreds of times, shared sacrifice, shared sacrifice. But to me, all that was your taxes are going to be increased, and then we'll solve the problem. Fast forward 2 years later, now we're already, we just went into special session in December to cut a $500 million deficit. By June 30th, we're going to be in another, $1 billion deficit and multi-billion dollars. So the problem is we have recommended those budgets. We have sat there for hours on end, gone through the budget line by line by line, hundreds and hundreds of lines. But if you don't have the people that vote in that direction and they vote for the tax increases, it's a majority rule.
I mean, I think we have to find a solution that's outside the box, because I hear this every single year and ever since I was able to vote, and that's been over 40 years. I mean, and I think that up at the Capitol, state Capitol, you have to start thinking more innovative instead of saying the same things every year. I don't know if everyone else will agree with me or not, but we hear the same thing every year. And we need people that are going to think outside the box and come up with innovative ways to change the norm.
Well, I mean, I agree. I'm sorry. I
No,
agree
go
with you.
ahead.
Like I find it's like I have this in my sleep kind of thing because I've lived it for so long. The problem is when it happens year after year after year, and the only thing that happens is your taxes go up, we spend more money, and every year it happens more and more. And at a certain point, there's a breaking point. And I don't know what else to say except we in the House Republican Caucus, we came up with this idea. I mean, it's kind of simple and it's a little hokey, but it's really the truth. We talked about what did we all learn from our parents and our grandparents on how we operate our homes. Spend no more than you make. Borrow no more than you can afford to pay back. If it's not broken, don't fix it. But if it's broken, get rid of it. The more government does, the less it does well. And we should have all the government we need, but only the government we need. And those are basic principles. And unfortunately, if you don't have enough like-minded people thinking that way, you're not going in that direction.
Right, and I think when it comes time for election time, I'm sorry, I don't mean to, but.
You'll be next.
But for re-election, I think that what you need to present is a plan. None of this mudslinging or my opponent did this or that. I think that we, the people, or myself and my husband, we want to hear plans.
We've had, I have to tell you this, I mean, every year for the past 6 years, the Republican caucus, which is obviously in the minority, has had a step-by-step plan of exactly what our vision of the budget was. I mean, it's not like we just sat there and said, we don't like your idea, we're just going to vote no. We have that plan every year, and and it's like pulling teeth just to get it called to vote on it. So we've had that plan. But like I said, I mean, it's a 51% thing. If you don't have enough people that think in that way, I mean, God can come down and say this is the best thing in the world, and it's not going to make a difference if you don't have enough people.